I'm back. I'm finally back. So today, let's talk about what's going on in the world. What's going on with Bitcoin specifically. It does look like it is repeating this explosive pattern. ETF race. Okay. Not only do we have this, this enthusiasm over Bitcoin spot ETFs. Now we're talking about Ethereum ETFs. There's a lot of talks about getting some Ethereum futures ETFs to come out, right? Then that leads to Ethereum spot ETFs. But ProShares, which is a huge fund manager, and Bitwise now are joining both. Okay, so now we have two kinds of ETFs to look forward to: Bitcoin and Ethereum. And of course, Bitcoin spot ETF, we already have all these big boys, okay, including ARK, BlackRock, Van Eyck, Invesco, Fidelity, Valkyrie. Their final deadline is all before, like basically 1 month before the halving event, with the exception of ARK's. ARK's is 2 months ahead. So if they get the approval, then basically everyone else is going to get approval, right? So if they don't get approval, then BlackRock is next. It'll be interesting. But I'm thinking that if one gets approved, they're all going to get approved. But yeah, this just kind of shows you the big boys that want to enter the space, how much money will be entering the space after these get approved. And soon we're going to have Ethereum ETFs too, right? These are all for casual traders, retail investors, and or institutional investors. I think it's more for institutional investors. When they come in, they're throwing in billions, okay? Billions upon billions upon billions, and they don't have to worry about custody and all that stuff. They just want to buy something, right? And that's what the ETFs are for. So that's pretty good. That's pretty good. But what's even better is Bitcoin right now, right? This is explosive pattern. Well, Plan B summed it up pretty nicely here. Pretty nicely. Not buying Bitcoin now at below 30,000 is not like buying, well, is like not buying Bitcoin when it was below 10,000 in 2019, and not buying Bitcoin and is like not buying Bitcoin below $500 back in 2015, right? These are periods when Bitcoin came back up from its bottom and then consolidated for months and upon months. People got discouraged. People didn't trust that Bitcoin was going to go higher. People thought there was doomsayers that kept claiming that Bitcoin was going to fall below again, and all these scary things that was being spewed, right? And then guess what happened? Bitcoin moved forward, and then it formed a new high, and then it kept going, right? It's kind of like right now. We might be going sideways until 2024, but still, this is one of those periods where it's not time to be fearful, not time to be bearish. It's time to be bullish, right? And also, if you look into it, there's the 2-year realized price and a 5-month realized price. And when Bitcoin's above both, that's a pretty bullish thing, especially if you look at going all the way back to the beginning. This has held true for many, 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 many years, right? So again, even though we're kind of stagnant now, we're still pressed, right against 30,000, way better than our previous low from earlier this year. And we're getting closer and closer and closer to the end of the year, which means we're getting closer and closer and closer to the halving event, right? It's kind of crazy that we're already in August. I'm still thinking that we just started the year, but somehow we're already more than halfway through. It's kind of crazy. But of course, speaking of the halving event, why is it so important? Well, because the supply gets dropped, not the supply, but the block rewards gets dropped by half, which makes it more scarce, which makes the price go up, right? So again, you just look at history. Just look at history, right? Having 1, 2, 3. The last halving event, Bitcoin was below 10,000. The one before, Bitcoin was at below 1,000, and the one before it was below $100, right? So where will Bitcoin be this time around? 50,000? Okay. It makes sense. It's a little bit below our previous high, but just look at it. We're forming higher highs, higher lows, higher halving prices, right? So what is there to be fearful of? It's moving according to plan. Nothing has deviated, right? The only thing I would say is, unfortunately, we didn't hit 100,000 this last cycle, which would have happened if Powell did not start raising rates and announcing that there will be rate hikes, right? Had he not done those things, let's say he'd done it in January instead of in November, Bitcoin for sure would have hit 100,000. But that's the only thing that made us go off track. But this time around, seeing how we're going to get a pivot and he's going to start going in reverse, cutting rates, there'll be more money swashing around in the market. Tech sectors is going to get better. It's going to help Bitcoin tremendously this cycle. All right. And then, of course, if you want something more dumbed down, you don't understand any of the things I've just said, just look at this pattern, okay? This is one of those IQ test patterns where you get asked, what's next, okay? So if you had to guess, what would number 4 look like? It'll be pretty good. It'll be pretty good, right? So how high is number 4 go get? I don't know, 200,000, 150,000, 500,000. We don't know at this point, right? But 4 is definitely a good one. And then, what's good too? Number 1. 1 is also good. 1 pushes even further past 4. Right? That's simple. Also, balance on exchanges continues to go down, 30% down from its high back in 2020, and continues to go down further and further down. Okay. It's all good. It's all leading to great things, right? Great things, great prices, a higher high that's coming, right? And institutional and more institutional adoption and global adoption and more people turning away from fiat. It's leading to great things, right? So nothing has changed since I've gone away for a week, other than my hangover. But it's still looking pretty darn good.